Paarthurnax is as smart as you would expect for an immortal dragon, wise beyond belief due to his meditation for the past few thousand years. This dragon is perhaps the smartest being in the Elder Scrolls. From being able to overcome his dominating dragon nature through the way of the voice, to having a real appreciation and respect for all life, it's clear to see that Paarthurnax is something of a genius. The Blades are hated by many Skyrim players because they ask the Dragonborn to kill Paarthurnax. They disregard any argument that Paarthurnax has changed his nature and instead simply condemn him for his past transgressions. But what the Blades fail to appreciate is how dragons are forced to act in a way due to their nature and circumstance. They have a natural will to dominate all things.
Dov Walan Farel, we were made to dominate. The will to power is in our blood. You feel it in yourself, do you not? I can be trusted. I know this, but they do not. It is always wise to mistrust a Dova.
Now, this isn't an excuse for any atrocities they might commit, but it certainly mitigates the severity of their actions. This sort of reminds me of a book called Native Son by Richard Wright, and perhaps elaborating a little bit on that novel might help you to understand why I think Paarthurnax doesn't deserve to die for his actions. It's been a while since I've read Native Son, so please forgive me if I get any of the details wrong, but from what I remember, the story centres around a young black man who kills his employer's daughter by accident when he smothers her with a pillow. He had brought her back from a date with another man, he was her chauffeur, but kissed her in her room, which was highly taboo for a black man to have done in the 1930s when this book was set. The girl's blind mother enters the room, and to stop the girl from speaking, presumably she was about to, which would have given away his position, he smothered her with a pillow, not intending to kill her. I won't tell you the entire story, but the salient point is that the protagonist's lawyer argues to the court that although the man's crimes are inexcusable, because he is black, there was a systemic inevitability behind his actions. Had he been white, he would not have felt the need to do what he had done. At this point in time, to give some context, black men were regularly accused of rape and locked up with little evidence, hence the protagonist's fear of being found out with the girl by her mother. Now, I personally think that the protagonist in Native Son deserved to be punished almost in full because he can't have known that this girl was going to call out or accuse him of rape or anything like that. But in Paarthurnax's case, I think there was a more compelling case to be made for mitigating circumstances because his innate tendency to dominate was not chosen by him. He has no control over who he is, and thus partly he is not responsible for the actions he committed in the war. So in the same way we might understand why the protagonist of Native Son acted in the way he did, we can understand why Paarthurnax acted in the way he did in the Dragon War. In other words, he wasn't acting out of maliciousness or hate. It would almost be like blaming a tiger for killing its prey, apart from the fact that dragons are sentient and tigers aren't, but you get the idea. So Paarthurnax must be a genius because of his ability to conquer something that was so innate to his being. He explains that he was able to conquer his nature through following the way of the voice, a philosophy invented by Jurgen Windcaller. Jurgen Windcaller was once a mighty Nord chieftain in the First Era, but when his army was defeated by a Chimer-Dwemer coalition and thrown out of Morrowind, he rethought what it meant to be a practitioner of the thu'um. He concluded that the voice ought to only be used to worship the gods and for inward meditation. In a way, when Paarthurnax decided to follow this idea, he was punishing himself for his past actions. He isolated himself on top of a mountain for thousands of years, and as he says to the Dragonborn, it's been at least a century since anyone, even a greybeard, has ventured to the top of the throat of the world. So Paarthurnax is basically simultaneously punished himself for his actions and overcame his warlike and dominating nature, which is highly impressive. And it's not as if he simply decided to amend his ways after being defeated. He actively betrayed his kind and helped humanity out of compassion.
The first mortals that I taught the thu'um, the first tongues, the leaders of the rebellion against Alduin. They were mighty in their day, even to attempt to defeat Alduin. Thu'um. The Nords have had many heroes since, but none greater. There were a few of us that rebelled against Alduin's Thur, his tyranny. We aided the humans in his overthrow, but they did not trust us. Ni-Ov. Their inner counsels were kept hidden from us.
And it's arguable that this momentous action, which saved humanity, outweighs any questionable actions that he might have committed before betraying Alduin. So although Paarthurnax's name might translate to ambition, overlord, cruelty, he is a living, breathing example of how one's genetic makeup or origin does not have to define who you are. Paarthurnax's commitment to humanity extends far beyond his resolve to simply isolate himself atop the throat of the world though. You might notice when you first meet Paarthurnax in Skyrim that he appears to be battered and weary. Whilst this might appear to be because of his age, it can't be because dragons are immortal. It's far more likely that Paarthurnax is worn from battling Alduin after he re-emerged from his expulsion from time at the throat of the world. More than anything, this proves his sincerity in having come to despise what it means to be a dragon. This sincerity is also seen from the fact that Paarthurnax resolves to teach all remaining dragons the way of the voice to help them turn away from the path of domination. But to be fair, this probably isn't the smartest of moves. It's a way of practicing the voice that so goes against the nature of most dragons. Most probably won't conform and will simply go rogue instead. Perhaps a smarter route to take would have been to sort of implement the way of the voice in stages. For instance, firstly by getting all dragons to agree not to harm humans. Anyway, we'll probably find out in the next game through a book or something whether Paarthurnax was able to convert the remaining dragons to the way of the voice. Another basic reason why Paarthurnax appears to be so smart is due to the fact he's literally been meditating on top of a mountain for a few thousand years. I think if anyone did the same, they'd inevitably end up being pretty wise. This is probably the reason why Paarthurnax is able to offer training and help when it comes to meditating on certain words in the dragon language. An example of Paarthurnax's compassion is found in the fact that he would often visit the dragon Numinex when he was imprisoned in Dragon's Reach. Numinex was the adversary of Olaf One-Eye, who shouted the dragon into submission and imprisoned him as a personal pet within Dragon's Reach. Paarthurnax comments that Numinex was so humiliated, lonely and disturbed that he forgot his own name. Given the size of Dragon's Reach in Skyrim, it's not hard to see why. Numinex would have been barely able to move, like a caged chicken. I'm not sure how Paarthurnax would have visited Numinex, but I imagine that during the night sometimes he would fly down to talk to the dragon to stop him from feeling so lonely. To sum up the dragon Paarthurnax, he's probably one of the wisest NPCs in the whole Elder Scrolls universe. There are plenty of ancient characters nearly as old as Paarthurnax, but what distinguishes this dragon is how selfless he's become through the way of the voice. While selflessness in itself is commendable, Paarthurnax's achievements are even more commendable than normal given his provenance. If any one thing is clear from this video, then I think it's that Delphine's an idiot for arguing that this dragon should be killed. In reality, he's done 100 times more than her for the cause of humanity. But if you want to hear more about why Delphine is an idiot, then watch my dedicated video on that topic. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more videos on Elder Scrolls geniuses or idiots, then please do check out the playlist I made on my channel of all the videos in the Genius series so far. If you want to see more Elder Scrolls lore generally, then please do feel free to check out my channel and subscribe. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank my patrons. They really do help me out. For pledging $2 a month, patrons get access to draft scripts before a video is released, and as I said, their support helps me out loads. Anyway, comment below what genius or idiot you want me to investigate next, and I'll see you in the next one.